Bethesda is the worst studio in gaming today. I know, that's a very bold statement to make, but stick with me here. I want you to ask yourself a very specific question. We've had studios release buggy, broken games on us in the past, exactly like Bethesda. Hell, we've even had companies force predatory monetizations in their games, just like Bethesda. But what I want you to think about is, why is Bethesda unique in this respect? You don't enter a toxic relationship the first day. You get slowly drawn in, and suddenly you're making excuses for every red flag that could possibly pop up. Bethesda is that toxic relationship, and it's time to start realizing we're in one. But like every other toxic person, Bethesda grew into it. They were molded by their environment. So to understand what they are now, we need to understand where they came from. Which means we get to shit on Todd Howard again, yay! Look, a green screen. We're copying Nakey Jakey, or at least I am. This is something I want to do for a long time, so put a puppy behind me. Oh, look at the cute puppy. Oh my God, put something stupid back there. He put me back there, didn't he? Well, editor, at least you and my dad agree. Let's get going. Todd and other leaders within Bethesda Game Studios need to take accountability for their poor decisions and processes. And all these bad processes and decisions all started back in 1989. Toddy Boy had been trying to get hired at Bethesda Game Studios since 1989, but finally in 1994, he was hired as a producer. Then in 1998, he made his directorial debut with The Elder Scrolls Redguard, and it was bad. Todd, in an interview with Lex Friedman, spoke on Redguard actually, and said this.
And I wanted to do something a little more Ultima feeling, handcrafted world. I really like things that blend up genres, so I know it's in the adventure game category, but it really does a lot of things. You know, it's a love letter to Prince of Persia. There's a little Raiders of the Lost Ark in it. There's a lot of Ultima in it, and really see what we could do with the engine.
Todd Howard speaks on the desire to see what other games did, like the old Tomb Raider and Prince of Persia games, but in the execution of trying to take his inspiration and make it into a passion project, they failed horribly. But to be fair, around the same time, another Elder Scrolls game, Elder Scrolls Battlespire, was released, and it also sucked. But there was something strange about these two games that I found really interesting. Elder Scrolls Battlespire was an actual Elder Scrolls RPG. When Todd was given his own team and separated off to create his own vision, it wasn't like the previous Elder Scrolls games. Many who played the game back then and today regard Redguard as a game so proud of its lore, they forgot to actually make a good game. And in being proud of that lore, you would not be surprised to believe that the team and people who made this game were probably huffing their own farts, basking in their genius. Hey, get the picture of Starfield up. Put the puppies back. What? Starfield has no bearing on what I just said at all. But don't worry, after Redguard, Todd worked on Morrowind, one of his first big financial successes in his catalog. But Morrowind also begins that trend for Bethesda. You know the one. Oh, well, it crashes every 5 minutes. Some of the quests bug out and I can't complete them. Sometimes I can't even get the game to start, and trying to find any specific information in the game is like pulling teeth. But that's kind of why I like Bethesda games. Because they're so broken. What Morrowind taught Toddy Boy was that the overall state of the game didn't matter. If it's shipped out, as long as we just put just enough in the game, then our stupid players will eat it up. Bethesda bugs are something so many people in my original Starfield video told me they loved. And I argued with people on Twitter about this as well. Apparently, in a lot of people's eyes, Bethesda couldn't do anything wrong. They're bugs a part of the charm of the game? And being told that you should know that Bethesda games are busted, so why even buy them? As if I shouldn't expect anyone who I'm giving money to should improve over time, ever. But the important lesson is that Todd and Bethesda noticed this seemingly goodwill they had with their players, and this lesson would infect the decision-making behind every subsequent game moving forward. Constantly going back through every review of, let's just say, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Every Reddit post, anywhere you see somebody reviewing the game, they have to warn you about the amount of times they crashed a desktop or on console, quest bugs, make it where you can't finish anything, and ruining the game further with Bethesda trying to patch the game. Does that remind you of anything else they've made? Simply look at the releases of games since Morrowind, and you will find a company that has coasted on shoddy work, not due to the people in the trenches making the game, but the people in charge who refuse to make better decisions. But why make this decision, you may ask? Well, it's just business, baby. Why grow your workforce to the size necessary when that would only harm the bottom line? Why spend more time on a game when your players are going to fix it themselves? And most importantly, why bother putting more resources in when our player base will eat up bad work? Bethesda has been attempting to match the scale and immersion of studios like Rockstar, who employs over 2,000 employees, with Bethesda's 400. Guys, who are we kidding? Bethesda still uses an engine that every hobbyist programmer on Reddit has detailed the issues of extensively, and they've never been called out on it extensively until today. No other company has the reputation Bethesda does, and that's their advantage. If no one expects anything of you, then you can kind of coast under the radar. And that's how they've gotten everyone to defend them when pulling the same despicable behavior as every other studio. Bethesda is just as bad as every other studio out there, from predatory monetization practices to releasing poorly optimized games. In fact, that's the Bethesda standard. But Bethesda is unique in that it leverages its patheticness to its advantage. Todd Howard constantly uses this when he gives his speech announcing Fallout 76. He made a joke about how buggy their games are and how...
I read on the internet that our games have had a few bugs. I did. I read it on the internet, so it's true. And that sometimes it doesn't just work.
But he still hyped the game up as innovative, and it's going to be the greatest thing you've ever played. Cyberpunk 2077 interviews with devs and PR people did this as well, though, touting the greatness of their upcoming project. But what happened when Fallout 76 released as opposed to when Cyberpunk released? Well, CD Projekt Red was torched online for lying to everyone, people demanding refunds left and right. People at the studio were wondering if they would even survive. Would they have their jobs? And how there was even a mini revolt happening as the devs on Cyberpunk said the company didn't give them the time they needed. But what about Fallout 76? Yeah, Bethesda got torched. Everyone and their mother talked about how bad the game was, but there was no uproar. Relatively speaking, no one cared. In fact, there is still a vocal group that defends the game, even though many of them have to admit that the game is terrible. Bethesda, unlike CD Projekt Red, were allowed to put microtransactions in a game that should not have had them. They still used hype culture to sell the game that they had to have known it was going to launch in an incredibly rough state. Again, that's the Bethesda standard. But no one cares. Nothing happened to them. Why? Why was there a difference in the reaction to Fallout 76 and Cyberpunk? Because we don't expect anything of quality from Bethesda. Skyrim, for as good as it was, needed community mods to fix and become playable, but no one cared because it's what was expected from them. Bethesda used their pathetic nature to make all of their practices seem cute or charming. CD Projekt Red, on the other hand, had a standard in The Witcher 3. Everyone expected something from them, but when they fell, everyone was angry, and rightfully so. Oh, but that poor, pathetic-looking golem thing in the corner? They're just trying their best. You leave Bethesda alone. That's Bethesda. Everyone knows they're crap, but because of that, you can't criticize them. And Todd and Bethesda know this. It's genius. But sadly for Bethesda, they overplayed their hand. Like any spoiled child, Bethesda got used to getting away with everything. Skyrim had given them a big ego, and like many a spoiled child before them, they started thinking that they, in fact, were that good. So Bethesda decided that they don't need to apologize. In fact, whenever criticism came their way, they weren't wrong. No. It's the players that are wrong. Starfield has just released, and like any Bethesda game, Todd and co. believed that they were going to bask in pure, undiluted praise for their innovative and groundbreaking game. Microsoft even made sure to shoot out review codes to only the most favorable sites and individuals. After Redfall, Xbox just needed Starfield to just be okay. Once again, Bethesda is being protected from criticism from not just their cult-like fans, but now one of the most powerful companies in the world. But slowly, but surely, Bethesda began to feel the heat. After 2 months out, Starfield is receiving criticism, and people are starting to realize that maybe the game is a bit shit. But other games previous to this have had similar experiences. The Cyberpunk devs apologize for the state of the game. Heck, throw a dart on the board and you can find thousands of examples of companies vaguely or outright apologizing for their game not being exactly what people wanted or hoped for. Sir, the review scores are going down. I don't think people like this game at all.
Will you tell them to go themselves?
Scorched earth, that's always good, sir. Bethesda has begun the exact opposite of a PR rehabilitation and instead are going to war. The Bethesda customer support team is arguing with the players who said they're disappointed in the game by just saying, yeah, well, you, learn how to play a fucking video game. Tears streaming from their eyes as finally Bethesda can't hide behind their pathetic facade anymore. But this isn't a new occurrence. Oh no, Bethesda has always done cringy crap like this. Fallout 76 used to ban players and make them write essays for using cheating software. It's just bizarre how Bethesda handles their PR and anything for their games. At this point, Bethesda is not a studio. They are a medieval lord ruling over their lands as they see fit. But if you dare speak out, then it's off with your head. Empty planets aren't boring. Do you think the freaking astronauts were bored going to the moon? I thought not. What do you mean there's nothing to do? You could shoot, mine, and loot. Actually, let me tell you how to play the game, okay? How about you go make a new character with different stats and backgrounds, and then come back, you idiot? Dude, this game was really hard to make, so how about you just shut up about the loading screens, okay, man? We had a ton of data to make this expansive game. You don't know how to play, apparently, so how about you go to game development school, and then you can criticize us. Okay, bud? Well, let's respond a bit to them. There are core issues with the design of Starfield, the main one being that your players constantly feel their experience is being disrupted every couple of minutes, or even seconds. When you took on the space genre, did you think your players wanted to fly around in what is basically a fishbowl behind a loading screen? Or, actually fly around? Next, the constant use by Bethesda of what seems to be a growing trend for them is that they want to use more and more procedural generation, literally and figuratively. Let me explain. Starfield's team knew they couldn't make a Skyrim on every planet, but this didn't stop leadership, Todd and Emil Pagliarulo, from bashing their heads against the wall. So instead, they decided to make a giant game, filled it with padding, and then got mad when they were called out on it. Fallout 4's use of Radiant Quests was extended right over to Starfield and even bigger. Starfield has things to do, but that doesn't mean, Todd and Emil, that those are fun things to do. Lastly, I don't care that the game was hard to make. No one should. What, was Bethesda being blackmailed into making this game? You decided to make the game. You now don't get to hide behind the difficulty of it and be given sympathy points for trying. You know what? If the game was free, if I hadn't given you money for it, then yeah, I may give you those points. But I gave you my money for this game. I don't care. This is your job, not just some side hobby you guys do. But honestly, this is the first time that pushback on them has possibly resulted in something, as Bethesda unveiled the things they will be adding to Starfield, and guess what, guys? We're gonna get city maps! Yeah, you know that thing in every single game that is obviously in it because you need it? Bethesda's gonna give that to you, soon-ish. So yeah, Bethesda has possibly learned nothing. I feel Bethesda is the worst studio/company, what have you, in the industry today, due to their spoiled child behavior, lack of pride in their work, and poor QA reputation. Oh, I'm sorry, Starfield is the least buggy launch from Bethesda? You mean they could have been making and releasing games like this the entire time? Not making your unpaid player modders fix it for you? Is that what you're telling me? I just want to say that I don't know if Bethesda and Todd Howard are stupid or malicious. I just don't know. I want Bethesda to make good games, but I also want them to be held to a standard that's reasonable for their team size and their resources. But that standard gets raised based on the aspiration and passion of the people behind the project. Starfield wasn't trying to be Skyrim. They wanted to rival Red Dead 2.
Bruh.
And any of the other PlayStation exclusive titles out there that have been getting so much praise. Bethesda is like a young child with an older, talented sibling, passionate and ready to try anything, and that's their issue. Bethesda, the young child, sees their sibling doing all this cool stuff, and Todd and everybody want to do that stuff too. But time after time, we've seen them fail to match even a bit of that quality. Fallout 4 had a lot of inspiration from Telltale's The Wolf Among Us and Mass Effect via this speech from Emile Pagliarulo, the main designer from their games for years now. But they never seem to meet the bar set before them. Why? Because, like Todd spoke about in tons of interviews on Starfield and his past projects, is that they're never finding their niche and simply improving upon it. Rockstar isn't delving into making a Bethesda RPG and then the next year trying to make a sandbox open world survival game. Bethesda attempts like a wide-eyed kid to run all over the place with no plan on if no one likes having 20 loading screens to sit through. Bethesda and Todd Howard are passionate about their games, but sometimes you need someone to yank the leash. Bethesda doesn't stick to their niche and slowly expand responsibly. Instead, they hop from one genre to another, and the devs are most likely getting whiplash due to this. This has to be why Starfield is the way it is, because from year to year, Bethesda is not understanding what their engine and resources can do right now super well at all. Passion needs to be tempered, and Todd never learned this. But that passion is why I fell in love with Bethesda. And honestly, if you still love them, why? No, I do. I hope you enjoy their games, and I truly hope that you're happy with Starfield. As much as it pains me to think of rewarding Bethesda for this game, I don't hate you for liking Bethesda games at all. I hope a lot of you understand that. Also, any devs who may watch this video, however unlikely that is, I don't hate you either. I hope you understand that I'm more angry with your leadership rather than you people who follow the orders given to you by bad leadership. Bethesda, Todd, please grow and learn finally from Starfield. Learn that we don't need to see you take on projects outside your wheelhouse. Understand that we don't need galaxies to explore. We need you all to make a game that balances expansiveness and substance. As for Starfield right now, my advice, move on from Starfield. Refocus on what made Skyrim great and then expand on that reasonably within your limitations. Because I want Bethesda to succeed, I do. But with the way Bethesda operates right now, they're not going anywhere. Hi, you may be wondering, what are we doing with the green screen? I don't know, it looks really cool. I like it. I keep forgetting that the camera is not right here and right here because I'm using my phone to record this. I don't know what I'm doing just yet. You can say we're copying Nakey Jakey, which, duh. I mean, it looks cool. What am I gonna do? But yeah, I mean, look, there's the sub button. Hit it. You gotta click it. Click the sub button. Look at it right there, just ready to be clicked. There's another video. You can watch more videos of mine. Look at the video button. There's not a ton of them yet, but you're getting in on the ground floor of a great investment opportunity. What are you gonna get from your investment? Ignore that part. Hit the sub button. Videos, more videos are here for you to click and do the things. Click on the stuff. Why are you still here? I haven't been looking at the camera still. Help me. Give me encouragement to get better. Why are you not clicking anything? Also, like the video. I completely forgot. Or dislike it. YouTube doesn't care. I'm emotionally drained, so I don't care either. Sub, like, hit a video. Please.